I need you to hate so I can use you for your energy.
This is real sales talk. Real sales advice from real sales practitioners. Giving you tips on how to dominate your sales quota are your co-hosts, Sean Mitchell and Phil Keene. This episode is brought to you by Convertist. We are incredibly excited to have partnered together with Convertist, which helps SaaS and services run managed outbound campaigns for teams looking to drive new pipeline opportunities. For teams targeting mid-size and enterprise deals, Convertist integrates with CRMs like Salesforce to uncover actionable data in their sales processes, which enables them to find areas of improvement and double down on strategies that actually work. Benchmark the lead generation performance expected of a seasoned SDR and identify actionable areas of improvement in a sales process, all out of one place with Convertist. For teams looking to measure and enhance their performance of their sales funnel and architect a better revenue engine, cast an application to join the Convertist Slack group. It's at convertist.com/Slack. That's Convertist, convertist.com/Slack, SLACK. What is going on, everyone? It's Sean Mitchell, and we are live with another episode of Real Sales Talk, and we've got a really great one for you today. I'm running solo. I don't know where Phil is at, actually. He's probably on a sales call, closing a deal for his company. Today, we've got Ryan O'Donnell from SellHack and Replyify on the show. Ryan, welcome.
Sean, what's up? You're bringing the energy. I love it. Too bad we couldn't all be here today. Just scheduling this thing, you can tell when people are busy and in sales. For the folks who are listening, you should have heard us for 5 minutes a couple of days ago trying to find convenient time on all of our calendars. But opportunities come up, and hopefully he's closing hard out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Glad to be here.
And he may jump on. Yesterday we did an interview with someone, and it was reverse roles. Like, he was on first, and I was kind of tied up. I actually joined the podcast in my car from my phone, and at about halfway through, I got home, and then I jumped on the computer and then had the video going. So that's real life sales. Like your
the tech handoff, right? I've done it plenty of times, and you just got to roll with it.
Yeah. So Ryan, today we're going to be talking about sequencing, cadence, cold emails, all the things that sales reps love to hate and hate to love. Mainly because, I don't know, I'd love your feedback on this, but when I look at it from my perspective, it's probably just fear of rejection. But hopefully by listening to the end of this conversation with you, Ryan, our listeners are a little bit more well-equipped with what to do and how to do. What do you think? Why is there such a hesitance with cold outreach?
How can you hate it? It's the most beautiful thing that exists in our job. It's the one chance where there are no predefined views on your product or service. Pricing hasn't come up yet. We're not really dealing with objections. This is a chance at potentially building a relationship with someone. I think why people hate it, and why I used to hate it, was it just took too damn long to do, right? And we're smart people. We have a finite period of time and typically goals to go after that we need to hit to make our number and feed our family and take a vacation and do fun things and grow our business, right? And we have a finite period of time, and to do all of these different tasks and activities, they take time, and they take time away from having these actual meaningful calls, but that's our goal. So I think, coming from a background of, being on Wall Street and making 500 phone calls a day, literally off of a postcard, a 5x7 postcard, I would research over the weekend, build a prospect list, dial around gatekeepers, 500 calls a day, 50 connects, 5 leads, pitching and closing 1 account. And that's a grind, right? What we're talking about today with cold email and automation and outbound, that's easy. Right? But you have to get the core system set up right. And if you do that correctly, and sometimes it takes some experiments and iterations, but once you do it correctly and kind of get your groove going, you're feeding the beast. every day or every other day or every week with however many prospects or leads you need to start engaging with at the top of the funnel that are going to shake out to, your demos or qualified leads on the other end, so you can start moving those folks through the pipeline. But it's all about, who was it? Abe Lincoln said, measure twice, cut once, right? It's all about experimenting, finding something that works, and then doubling down on what does. And when you do that, you turn something that was this laborious task into something that's, easy peasy, get it done, go play 9 holes of golf, come back and have 6 replies in your inbox. Like, there's nothing easier than that.
Okay, so you've scripted out this process to make it easy. I know what most of our salespeople are thinking. Yeah, Ryan, that sounds cool, but how do I have the time to actually have this process and do this process? Are you telling me that I have to write my own emails? What say you?
I'm telling you that. So in my day-to-day, I work with two different types of clients primarily, right? First type is, and they're all sales professionals, right? They're either, sales development reps, right? SDRs, BDRs, they're closers, account execs, they're VPs of sales, sales operations, they all over the board, but they're all in sales, right? In some capacity. There's really 2 types of folks that we come across, right? Those who are part of an organization that has such a rigid process that creating change across the board is very difficult, right? So we'll often find the rogue agents who are out there and saying, F this, right? I'm eating what I kill. I'm going to go try something different, and I'm going to prove that it works. I'm going to make it work. And then when it does, I'm either going to secret squirrel it away and not tell anyone about this, which some folks do, especially in a competitive sales environment, or these are the folks who are bringing this to their boss, and these are the folks who are getting promoted, right? Because they're not just following an order, right? And doing the same thing their company's done for the last, I don't care if it's 3 months or 30 years, right? This is a modern sales approach, and I think more people are getting used to. So the second type of company we work with are folks who they don't have a process, and they come to us because their process has been, just brute force, doing all these different things. They hit a choke point, it doesn't scale. They need to put a process in place. So they come to us. We run 2 different products out there, SellHack for prospect list building, and then Replyify for this cold email automation. It's like the 1-2 punch. We're not going to make this a big commercial about the tech I run today. There are other options for both of the services that I have, but I'm in the game. I talk to people like you every single day who have these problems, and then we dog food our own tech, right? We live and die by using our own software. And it really, in our experience in the last 4 years, it's all come down to, and we've been doing this for longer than 4, but in this space, right, in the cold outbound, over the last 4 years, we've gotten to, speak with a lot of folks, learn a lot, try a lot of new things, and have settled on a process combined with the right mix of software to automate parts of that process is nirvana, right? It creates that time. It's 10 minutes in the morning, 9 holes of golf, come back and you've got, 6 folks who are interested or not interested, and you can cross them off the list and move on.
Yeah. So process, what does that look like? Let's talk about what is actually producing those results that you're talking about. What exactly is it that is getting the results that you're seeing?
Right. So most of our clients are B2B, right? They tend to skew, doesn't B2B just you're selling to another business. You're not selling, coffee down the road. You're not going direct to the consumer. You have a product or service, or you are the product or service if you're a consultant or coach, right? And you're reaching out to other people. You have a persona, you have a target market that you're reaching out to that was either defined for you, or you have the ability to define it yourself. And that's the first part of the process, right? And ask yourself, are you following a script and a certain path in terms of building your prospect list, or are you experimenting, right? So we talk about experimenting as the first part of the process and finding, these pockets of gold, right? These segments that your competitors or the rest of the folks in your sales org aren't going after because they haven't done the research. And oftentimes it starts with getting out Google Doc or Excel, right? Open it up, put a couple, column headers across the top. You're looking at job title, company size, location, keywords, industry, and you're building out a matrix. And you're looking at your last 10 clients that you like, or who followed your lead through your sales cycle and ultimately ended up converting. And if you don't have clients now, that's fine. You likely have competitors. So go and find who are your competitors' clients, right? There are review sites out there. They're putting quotes on their website. There are, go and see who's engaging with them on Twitter. Build out these paradigms and look for densities inside of there. And those densities actually, because we're doing company size, job title, industry, that's metadata for the non-technical folks. That just means that those words can be used to search and find other people similar to those folks. So that's the first place to start an experiment, right? And get into a mentality of, I have different segments out there, right? I have different types of prospects. And let's say I'm selling to a VP sales at a 5,000 person company, right? He or she cares about, and I'm making the assumption here, different things than a VP of sales at a 5-person company. Completely different things. Or at least my assumption that I'm going to go off of is that VP sales of the 5,000 person company, they're likely series, B, C, D, pre IPO, or they're, they've got a very strong valuation. They're reporting to the board, and they're reporting to the CFO, and they're making sure that you're putting stuff in Salesforce or into your CRM so that they have accurate forecasts and they don't lose their job. Where a VP of sales at a 5-person company, right, cares about getting to that next stage of their company and getting that next financing round, right? And being able to hire, 5 or 10 more people on their team and grow with the organization, ultimately become that 5,000 person company. So when you talk to them and reach out to them, you say different things because they have different motivators. So it's important at the beginning, step back and look at your prospect segments and who you're selling to. And I challenge you to create different segments or sub-segments. And that's the first place to start with your list building and prospecting and email verification and all that. That's the first step, right? And build these lists specific to that. And then once you have that data and you have those folks broken into lists, then it's time to create new campaigns and feed the campaigns and look at results in that.
So what I hear you saying is, don't just send a broad email out that's completely generic and not specialized to a particular vertical or subset of people. Make sure that it's targeted and specific. It doesn't have to be personalized every single time to every individual person you're reaching out to, although that does work. But just personalizing the message or making sure that it's tailored to that industry or that ideal customer, right?
Tailored to in a loose word. Yes, it doesn't have to be painstaking. It just has to look at your own inbox, right? I'm sure all of us get unsolicited cold emails from folks all the time or regularly. I have folders, right? I have a good cold email example folder and a bad cold email example folder, right? And I've learned from that. I borrow from the good and I make sure that I don't follow the bad, right? And the bad tends to be hi, sir, or madam, right? And a generic subject line, and then blocks of text and long paragraphs and stuff that I'm just like, I don't have time for that, right? The good emails, while it's someone who hasn't done, a ton of research, they don't know I have 3 kids. They don't know I'm a, big Browns fan necessarily, but they reference things that I might be interested in, or, so they might reference my hometown. If I see a subject line that says, calling all Cleveland startups, I'm gonna open that up. I'm curious as to that. If I see something that is more generic or long and just doesn't speak to me, I've got less of a chance to open that up. So it's about being better than average, even just slightly, doing things better than the status quo. And that's why it's important to pay attention to your own inbox. See what's getting you to move, right? And then style your approach, or style at least your initial message. That's the most important one, to try to show that person, show that prospect that you've done a bit more research than what they're probably giving you credit for. And the credit that they're giving you is, oh, this person probably just bought a list and is blasting out emails to see who bites, right? You want to show them that you did just a little bit more research than the average bear.
Okay. What are some of, let's get really tactical on this one too. What are some of the characteristics or techniques inside of that email? You mentioned personalizing to, let's say, a particular city or particular area like Cleveland startups in the subject line. What are some of those characteristics that you found that make people respond?
So it's a lot of psychological motivators here, right? That without going into the subconscious and psychological motivators that get us to do things, referencing things that are familiar to a person are one way of, and again, we're building rapport. We're starting to build rapport with the person. The first part of the rapport that we're building with them is for them not to immediately discount us as someone that's just, blasting this out to everyone. We want to make them feel a little bit special, right? So referencing a location is one way to do it. During football season, we did this in the playoffs. We would build this specifically for folks who went to different schools. And then, I'm an Ohio State fan. So I would put, go Bucks after a game in the subject line. Or for Alabama, it's Roll Tide, right? That gets them to open it, right? And we're not misleading them. It's just like, hey, John, quick question, parentheses, Roll Tide. And that's not prescriptive, but that's one thing that we tried. They're like, oh, man, all right. So how did you know I like this school? How did you do this or that? And it's like, I was researching your profile, saw you went to Alabama, like, check the box. I was, Ryan just researched my profile. He didn't just buy a list, right? I have a very specific reason for reaching out to you today, right? So another motivator is we work with companies similar to yours, like, A, B, and C, right? That's another motivator. Someone says, all right, you're working with my competitors or people like my competitors, and I'm not doing this. Maybe I'll keep going. So they go to the third sentence, right? And then you hit them with, what you do and what value you offer. And the fourth sentence is, your call to action. How's your calendar look like next week for a quick call, right? Or for a quick call, how's your calendar look next week for a 15-minute call? Send a few times or skip a step and use, my scheduling link. I just gave you a format for a first email, right? But that's a way to show someone that you've kind of done that research, you've established credibility, you've instilled a little bit of fear, right? And your first email is really the strongest one.
Cool. I like it. Do you see any lift from utilizing schedulers like Calendly and similar? Do you see any better lift? Because I know a lot of people are my pain point here, Ryan, is with schedulers is that I've got five different calendars that I have to manage in one place, and a scheduler does not see everything that's on those 5 separate calendars. So
that's a Gmail setup.
Is it?
I can help you with that.
Yes, please.
That is a calendar. For the folks listening, if you're interested in something like this, we'll do a follow-up. I'll write up a quick post or something on this. I have the same, right? I live and die by my calendar. I think most of the folks here listening do the same thing, right? Opportunities come up. You're scheduling time with people who are busy. Everything lives in my calendar. So I connect all of my calendars together, and some of the calendar tools do have visibility into that if it's marked as free or busy. So I like calendar scheduling tools, right? But I think, they can be perceived as a little bit pompous by some folks.
Yeah.
Right. So
I'm so busy. Why don't you just go look here and find a time that works good for you?
There's a reticence to using them. I have 2 opinions on that. First is if someone is going to take so much offense at me sharing a calendar link with them to hopefully speed up this process for both of us, do I really want to be doing business with them? Right? Do I really want to be, going through negotiation and, dealing with, talking to them every day? And are they going to be a negative client as opposed to someone who's going to refer us to a bunch of people and give us new product suggestions and case studies and that? So that's one consideration. Second is, if you just say, hey, here's my calendar link, have at it, okay, it's a little bit lazy. So I soften it a bit, right? And I let them know that, send me a few times that work for you. I'm most concerned about you and your time, and I respect your time, and I'm contacting you out of the blue. But I'll write just a couple words that flip the script and change the perception of it. I'll say, send me a few times that work for you next week, or skip a step and use my, and drop something on my calendar, or send me your link.
That's
right.
Yeah.
So I gave them my link, but I bookended that by, giving them a way out or giving them options. So now the ball's in their court, right? And they can use mine, they can send me theirs, or they can reply back and say, hey, mornings next week work. And then I'll send the calendar invite.
Yeah, and I'll just kind of emphasize that point, because that's where my head went when we went down this road. They feel like they've got some options. It's not just go to the calendar link and schedule something. It's, hey, how does Tuesday at 4 work, or Wednesday at 1? And if those 2 times don't work, just take a look at my calendar and see if you can find something that works best for you. Then they feel like they've got some options, almost like the alternative choice close. It makes them feel like they've got an option or a choice. If one of those, if they don't prefer one of those.
Perfect. I want to keep, so we're on a good track, and we're gonna take that same mindset and continue to to your email campaign, right? So we sent that first email. Okay, we have our predefined call to action. Maybe you do put, a note in there, something like that. How do mornings next week look for a quick call? If that doesn't work, send me your calendar, send me a few alternate times, or skip a step, use my calendar link, or send me yours, right? So we did that first email. Not everyone's going to reply to that, right? And I think one big mistake that we see folks doing, especially, new organizations, first-time founders, right? People who've never done sales before, but need to do it, right? Or who've only done it in one particular way and are just, reading posts about cold email and how to do that. They're sending one email and they're not following up. And they're not following up to that one email for a couple different reasons. Some folks, if this is you, it happens. It's your personality. You can use it to your advantage, but some people feel embarrassed. Okay, Ryan didn't reply to me. He must not be interested. I don't want to bother him anymore. Okay. Some folks will put a reminder in their calendar. They'll send out 50 cold emails on Monday, put a reminder in their calendar for Thursday to follow up, right? And then they're going through on Thursday, and chances are a demo comes up with someone else, and they lose that time. But if they do have the time, they're going in their inbox, they're searching through their sent folder, they're pulling up those emails, seeing who hasn't replied, and they're spending an hour or two sending out those second emails, right? And hopefully they're sending out, we like to see on average between 5 and 10 cold emails in a campaign sent out over 30 to 45 days, right? That don't all say the same thing, right? Because you don't want to, hey, I'm Ryan, I do this, and here's how it's going to help you, right? Next email 3 days later, hey, Ryan again, I still do this. Here's how I can, and it's like sending weak checking in emails. We call them naked emails. Hey, check in and see how things are going. No, ask a question, have a reason for, to engage them, call them out, do something. I digress there, but having 5 to 10 cold emails in a sequence is very important. So how do you continue to follow up with these folks without wasting time? That's why we built Replyify, which is one option for the cold email automation, right? Connects to your inbox with one click. You pre-write your emails, your email campaign. So yes, you do have to write. You've got to go to the drawing board and actually write out your sequence. And that's kind of what we're talking about here, is that strategy. But once you've got that sequence written with your time delays in between there, and the automatic reply detection to stop future emails from getting sent out if the person's replied back, hey, take me off your list, unsubscribe, or yeah, I'm interested, let's move to the next step. So you've got to come up with interesting ways to write 5 to 10 emails that don't end up annoying the person because you're continuing to say the same thing over and over. So to that point, what we've seen in the, people have these different motivators, right? So our first email shows credibility and maybe will pique curiosity by referencing a competitor, right? And trying to get them to move. Our next email might be, some sort of value proposition, share a piece of content with them, like make a point and then back it up with some content that we created that, strengthens our point and shows that we are credible. Third email might be an offer because people are motivated differently, right? So I might just say, hey, look, I'm not going to waste your time. Like, I'm going to give you 100 free leads, right? In exchange for that, I'm going to ask for 15 minutes of your time for a quick call so I can show you how I got them. Okay. My fourth email, and going back to, we're taking this back to the calendar link, right? And we're drawing our loop back there where we give someone an option, right? We just sent 3 emails. Our fourth email is going to be giving them an option to not feel bad about not replying to our first 3. So my fourth email is going to be, I'm going to string together the offer in email 3, and I'm going to call it, thoughts on my offer, right? Hey, Sean, any thoughts on my offer, right? Or I'll send like an email buried email that says, hey, Sean, if your inbox is anything like mine, my last email is probably at the bottom of your inbox right now. It happens. I get it. And then go in it. So then you give someone permission to not feel bad and be like, oh God, I've ignored Sean 3 times now. I'm going to reply to him and he's going to know I ignored him, but you give them an opportunity to get out of it, right? And say, yeah, I've been busy. The email was buried. I apologize, or I've been traveling. And again, we just want the conversation started. I'll pause there in case you wanted to needle in on anything.
No, I think it's good. The one thought that comes to mind though is the moment that our audience starts to do this, the more saturated the strategy becomes and the less effective it is. And so like big picture, try something and test it out. I mean, that's my advice. This probably works really, really well, but the moment everyone does, I can't remember who I was talking to.
Yeah, but I call BS on that.
Okay.
Slightly. Yeah, I call BS on that to some degree. Cold calling still around, right? How long have people been cold calling, right? It's still, I mean, some businesses still completely thrive on it. I think what's happening, and fine, if you think that cold email and outbound email and sequencing and using tools to automate this is going to be discounted because it's saturated, I'll hear that point. What I'll say is that it's never going away, right? Unless canned spam or the FCC cracks down on certain parts. They leave it pretty flexible for folks who are conducting business outreach and doing it in a non-spammy way, right? But I think where we're evolving and where the market's going is folks realize they can't just rely on cold email alone.
Yeah,
they have to do other things, right? So they have to, if you're in sales and you've never bought a Facebook ad targeted to your customer or used a custom audience segment, right? And any Seinfeld fans out there with, Costanza used to get, I think that's how he got in Susan's head to marry her back in the day, right? She couldn't get him out of his head. And it was like Costanza was in her head. That's what we're doing, right? You can go out on Facebook and buy ads targeted to these people. Say, hey, I've been trying to reach you, right? Or you can target it to their coworkers and say, hey, do you know Bob Smith, right? Been trying to reach him. You can experiment and do these crazy things and connect with them on LinkedIn and follow them on Twitter and tweet at them, and they're gonna hear about you and see you and see you doing all these different things and call them, right, as part of to support your cold emails. So I don't think there's one tactic to do that's the end all be all. I think the right combination that fits in with your time and skill set. And, and even if you don't have the skill set, you can run small experiments, right? You can go spend $10 on Facebook, buy some ads, target them towards your mom and dad and your friends from college, and advertise your barbecue on Saturday, right? Or whatever, and see how many people reply to that, right? You can spin up a landing page for nothing So there are different things you can do. And if you're caught up in the status quo and you're not open to changing, like, what you got now is probably what you're going to get in the future. But there are so many different tools and strategies and things that you can do now that I think it's the most interesting time to be in sales.
Yeah. I agree. And to the point of not being willing to change, you may not have a job at some point here in the future if you're not willing to change, because things are moving so fast and technology is ever evolving and continuing to be wrapped into the sales process. If you're not using technology to do some of that heavy lifting, you may become irrelevant. But that's a separate topic. And I know everyone who's listening to our podcast is not that type of person. People who want to better themselves and learn more are listening to this sort of thing. People who don't want to change, they're probably not listening to the podcast, you and I.
No doubt. Yep.
Cool. So cadence, I wanted to touch on one more thing here. So you were talking about 10 emails over a 30 to 45 day period. Is this automated? You've written up your emails. Do you put it in an automated email platform, or do you manually send those out? Because I just did the quick math on it, and it looks like an email every like 4 days or something like that. So can you talk to that a little bit?
Real Sales Talk family, want to take a quick break just to say thank you to our partner Convertist. If you're interested in improving your game to drive leads, opportunities, or closes, join the Convertist Slack group, a place where sales and marketing operators can talk best practices to architect a revenue engine. Cast an application at convertist.com/Slack. That's convertist.com/Slack. Now let's get back to the episode.
And you want to stagger that. And that's why we built Replyify specifically for that. Connect to your inbox. You create campaigns. Remember, going back to the first thing we talked about, which was having multiple segments to be able to create relevant campaigns for each of these folks. In fact, the reason why we're talking here today was the result of an experiment that I ran 2 weeks ago and maybe 3 weeks ago. And, we're talking through growth in 2017, and Replyify is a fairly new product for us, spinning out of SellHack to do this cold email automation. And, I was like, gosh, I haven't done a podcast in a while, and I'm not going to go and create my own podcast right now. It's just, I do not have time to do that. But there are people out there that I want to talk to and speak with, and there are ideas that I want to share that, might not always be, you might not be reading our blog to find this stuff. So I had this idea and said, look, I'm going to go out and find, the top sales related podcasts, and I'm going to reach out to these folks, and I'm going to make it easy on them to, get to a quick yes or a quick no. The direct parallel to this is, it doesn't matter if you're looking for, reaching out to, podcasts like this, or you're reaching out to, to do guest blog posts or get press for your company or to a prospect. It's the same process. You have the right mix of technology. You have a hypothesis, right? And a goal. And then you have to go out and find the right people and then build out an email sequence that's automated, because the manual approach just doesn't work. It doesn't scale. It breaks down, right? So I want to make sure that when I'm reaching out and I don't know if you replied, I could check to the first or second email, right? But first email, I gave some credibility. I said, hey, look, here's some other podcasts I've been on, in case you want to see my style, my approach, that, I'm credible, right? I run a couple of companies in the sales space, right? So I do this every single day. My follow-up email to that was, I offered up 10 different suggestions for things we could talk about, right? So I made it easy for you. You didn't have to sit there and come up with, okay, gosh, I want to have Ryan on, but what are we going to talk about?
Yeah.
Right? Because he's doing a lot of different stuff. What do we talk? I gave you 10 things, and then we had a quick call and kind of hammered down on what we wanted to talk through. If you didn't reply to that though, there were 4 emails waiting, to go out to you over the next couple of weeks. Right. But because I researched it well, right, and found your contact info and built out, a really solid email 1 and 2, it made it really easy to move to the next step. And it's analogous, for your sales prospects, right? And that's the way to do it. So yes, having software to do certain things like this, when you compare it, the cost of the software, which is relatively inexpensive versus a lot of other things you're probably paying for, equivalent of a couple cups of coffee, every week or every month. And you compare that against the time that you're wasting doing things like this manually, it just, I'm biased. So the folks out there, I'm going to shut up right now. It's just, software is eating the world, and, it's freeing up time to do a lot of these other things that could help your pipeline out. So if you're sending emails one by one, set a timer next time you do it, and look and see how long it's actually taking you to do this, and compare that against having it automated for you.
I agree. And then I think that's a great opportunity to kind of wrap up the smart and successful agents. Sorry, I'm talking real estate. The smart and successful reps, sales reps, use technology to do the heavy lifting so that they can spend more time doing the high value activities that they get paid to do. And doing things manually, like typing up and manually sending out an email, cadence, or campaign, just isn't a good way to utilize time. Most sales reps would rather be on sales calls closing deals, not putting together campaigns and manually sending them out. So use technology to do the heavy lifting. That is what it takes to be a successful sales rep in 2017, 2018. Whenever you're listening to this, it's probably utilizing technology. So, Ryan, before we go into rapid fire here for our exclusive YouTube content, I want to give you an opportunity to let our listeners know where they can find you, learn more about what you're doing with your couple of companies.
Sure thing. And thanks for that. And for the folks listening, if you made it this far, thank you. I know it's hard sometimes to sit back and consume content. We wanted to give you some actionable things to try out, right? I didn't want to turn this into a big commercial. So hopefully we skewed away from that. If you're interested in automating what you're doing, we have tools for that, right? So Replyify's cold email automation software, where you connects to your inbox, you pre-write these campaigns, personalize them, simple to use and free to start. So the suggestion would be, if you have an interest in this, you have to take the first step. Go to replyify.com, replyify.com, Replyify. My email is ryan@replyify. If it didn't come through, if you're watching the video and this came through, you can hopefully see some facial expressions, and I wince, and I love what I do. And I'm open to answering questions. And, we do some consulting on the side when time permits. Time does not permit right now, but it still, shouldn't hold you back from asking some questions, and we'll do our best to answer them. Happy to review a campaign over the weekend. I typically say, advice given to me was write drunk, edit sober, right? So I do a lot of my sales email writing, in the evening, and, come back in the morning and review it. But again, happy to offer some help or answer some questions. We have tools to get you over the first hurdle. And then, there's a lot of content out there written about this. It's just, you have to make the decision that you're better than that. You're better than what you're doing. You're better than following whatever process was given to you or that you created out of the blue. If you're not automating your sales process, at least in some capacity, you're leaving money on the table and you're wasting time. And that's time not spent on sales calls or with your kids or playing those 9 holes of golf that we talked about earlier. Right?
Yep. Love it. Okay. So you gave the Replyify website. Are you online on social anywhere? Can someone connect with you there?
I guess we're building our social presence right now, and just thinking evergreen for this content. Like we'll be out there, more. We've been focused on the product a lot recently. Social is, one channel for us. Twitter at Replyify, but it really blog, creating content like this, and working on our product is where you can find us for the most part.
Sounds great. All right. So let's jump into the exclusive YouTube content. We're going to do 3 rapid fire questions here to give our listeners some insight into the minds of great people and successful people. So Ryan, first question. How have your parents influenced who you are today?
I remember I'm an entrepreneur, right? And I remember as a kid, my father came to me with a proposal, right? Buy me a power washer. I think I was like 10 years old. And said, you buy me a power washer, start this business, right? And I didn't do it. Okay. So I'm not the kid who went out there and created all of these, these businesses by age 5 and 10 and 15 and that. What I did do though, is they gave me the flexibility to find jobs that I loved, right? So in high school, I was a ski instructor. During the summers in college, I was a camp counselor working with kids, right? Prior to that, I was running, an event services for a local go-kart and mini golf track. I found that, it doesn't have to be your life passion, but they encouraged me and gave me the flexibility to go in and actually root around and find jobs that I actually loved. And then that, where it's brought me today is that I know that, when I work, if I'm not enjoying what I'm doing it wrong.
Love it. Great. I think it's a great response. And I think your parents are smart for allowing you to explore and discover things that you love. Second question. You're given 15 seconds on a Super Bowl ad, or sorry, during the Super Bowl, you're given a 15-second ad or commercial. What's your message to the world? What would you tell the world if you had 15 seconds?
Ooh, personally, professionally.
Could be anything.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to take this rapid fire. So I'm going to answer off the cuff. If I had 15 seconds in a Super Bowl commercial, and I've thought about it, it would definitely be an ad for my business. Right. And only because I feel like the problem that we're solving, so many people have it, right? But not everyone is going out and seeking the solution to it. And there are only so many people that we can reach, right? So yes, I would definitely, I think I would have an ad, just visioning it, 15 seconds. I would have, someone with unkempt sitting at a computer, wrinkled shirt, pounding away at a keyboard, not really, not going anywhere, frustrated. And then the flip side, I would show them, and that's the salesperson who's just grinding and getting blasted on the phone, not getting through the gatekeeper and just not getting ahead. Right. And, I would want to show them the nirvana, right? I'd want to show them, here's what you could be doing, right? You could be on the golf course and not banging your head against the wall, right? So that would be my commercial. So maybe we'll get to that point one day.
Love it. Love it. Great. Okay.
And hopefully the Browns will be playing in it.
Right. Let's see. Maybe in the next half a decade, maybe. Right. That'd be awesome. Last question for you, Ryan. What's one sales lesson you've learned today that you would tell your younger salesperson when you first started in sales? So what have you learned today that you would give your younger sales self advice on?
I would say, don't do that, right? And that is what you've been doing, right? Don't get caught up in this process. Like we've never lived in an age where there's been more content out there and more people sharing what they're doing, as opposed to, you getting it from your boss or just from how you think you should be doing it. I mean, I'm part of 3 Facebook groups that are just a culmination of people working on software as a service solutions, and they're sharing what they're doing and step by step, these experiments, like what they're doing and what they saw in the back end of it. And, I would tell myself, or I would tell, someone who is struggling like I used to, right? You need to go out there and find these people who, and consume this content that, credible folks are producing and sharing with you, and try it. Right. And try new things and experiment and kill the stuff that doesn't work and double down on the stuff that does work.
Awesome. Great final statement. Keep doing the things that are working, let go of the things that are not. I love it. Ryan, it's been such a pleasure to get to know you and get to learn from your perspective, email cadence, email cold calling, or sorry, email cold emailing, and the whole bit of what is working and what is not. So my phone and my computer are blowing up here.
Same
so
here.
It's distracting me.
We're good.
So yes, thank you so much for joining.
Let's do this again. Thanks for having me. Folks who are listening, if you want to have me back talking about something different in the future, there's plenty of other people out there who have some knowledge to kick. If you want us to do this again or go into the details, email Ryan at Replyify, put some comments in the show notes or on YouTube in the comment section. If you're struggling with something or want to dig deeper on another topic, let us know and we'll get it done. Because if you need it, chances are there's a lot of other folks who are struggling with something too.
Love the opportunity to engage.
Right.
So listeners, add it into the comments. What is your question that you've got that Ryan can answer? And he'll hit you up and respond.
Great call to action.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Thanks again. And we'll see everyone on the next episode. Thanks for listening to Real Sales Talk. And a big thank you to our sponsor, Convertist. If you enjoyed this episode, go write a review on iTunes or any other podcasting platform.